I welcome you all in the next video tutorial of the spectroscopy series. In this video tutorial, we are going to see an important spectroscopic technique, that is the NMR. It stands for nuclear magnetic resonance. So let's start. So the nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, it is an analytical technique and widely used in the quality control and research, and it is used for determining the content and the purity of the sample as well as the molecular structure, because we have already covered this point that the spectroscopic methods have been widely used for the structural elucidation or the structural determination. So yes, NMR is also used for the molecular structure. Okay, so it is a technique that exploits the use of the magnetic properties of the nuclei. So it is based upon the, as it is the nuclear magnetic resonance, so it exploits the magnetic properties of the nuclei. If we see the instrumentation setup of the nuclear magnetic resonance, or you can say NMR spectrophotometer, we will see, as it is a nuclear magnetic, so there is a magnetic pole because there is a name of magnetic. So we use magnetic poles. Yes, there are the two magnetic poles that are used in the NMR. Okay, and look at this. This is a tube specially made, NMR tube. So in this tube we have our sample. Okay, so we have another important part, that is the radio frequency transmitter, because in UV we have observed that we use UV visible spectra, we use 2200 to 800 nanometer wavelength. Okay, for UV and visible spectra, and in case of IR radiation we will use different type of IR radiations. Okay, and in case of NMR we use the radio frequency. Okay, so let's see that the principle behind NMR is that nuclei have spin. We know that nuclei have spin and all are electrically charged. Just see this is a spinning nucleus, and if an external magnetic field is applied, so what happens? An energy transfer is possible. Okay, this energy transfer take place at a wavelength that correspond to the radio frequency. So what happen? The energy transfer take place as a wavelength that correspond to the radio frequencies, and when the spin returns to its base level, the energy is emitted at the same frequency, and that signal that matches with the NMR, it will produce a spectra. So first start with the atom. So this is this atom. This whole components comprise of atom. So atom consists of main, you can see the nucleus is there, because in NMR we have to focus upon this nucleus. Okay, so nucleus contains protons and neutrons, whereas it is surrounded by electrons. And remember this thing, the protons and neutrons which are present in nucleus, they rotate on their own axis. Proton और neutrons वो rotate करते हैं अपने axis में. Or we can say that the proton and the neutron, they show spin, okay, around their axis. And due to this spinning of proton and neutrons, the nucleus will also spin. So there is a nuclear spin which is present in the nucleus. So let me draw here. Suppose I have drawn here proton. Suppose I have drawn here two protons. Okay, and here these are also. Let me show in this. Suppose these are spinning. So okay, suppose they contain positive charge. Suppose. So in that type of atoms which contain this even number of protons, what happen? So in that case, the atom will get paired. So this is important. So they will get paired. In which type of atom they will paired? In which type of atoms the protons or neutrons they get paired? In that type of atoms they get paired which contains even, okay, even number of these protons or neutrons. Just see this. Okay, so if these are the suppose protons and neutrons, what happen? So they will get coupled up, because look at this, I have posed a bit here. If even number of protons and neutrons both are present in a particular atom, we can say, then the overall spin of the nucleus is 0, means nucleus has an overall spin of 0. In that case, if even number of protons and neutrons are present in a particular atom, okay, so these type of atoms are NMR inactive, they do not show any NMR, okay, in which the overall spin is 0. And in the second case, if odd number of either protons or neutrons are present, then the overall spin is non-zero, and that type of, particularly that type of atoms, you can say, we consider for NMR, and that are NMR active nucleus, in which there is a nuclear spin. Okay, so nuclear spin is essential component for NMR. So we need this nuclear spin, and nuclear spin are present in odd number of nucleus which contain odd number of protons and neutrons, in which the overall spin of the nucleus is non-zero, or you can say a fraction or integer, and that we consider for the NMR purpose. So take an example, suppose oxygen 16 is there. In this, number of protons and number of neutrons are even. So it has no spin. We cannot use this compound in NMR. Hence, we can say that these type of atoms are NMR inactive. In case of this 2H, it contains odd number of protons and odd number of neutrons. So yes, this is a suitable example of NMR active compound, because here it is nuclear spin is not 0. Okay, take another example of 13C. In this, number of protons are even and number of neutrons are odd. So again, yes, we can use this for NMR purpose, and yes, we can say that the nucleus of 13C, they show spin. So due to this spinning, we can easily use these type of atoms in NMR, or these are NMR active atom, because they show spin. Due to, why those show spin? Due to presence of an extra neutron or proton. So for doing NMR, a particular compound must contain these NMR active atoms, otherwise NMR will do not give any results. And generally we do mostly two type of NMR, hydrogen NMR and carbon NMR. So these are the two type of commonly used NMR approaches, in which hydrogen NMR is there and carbon NMR is there. So let's focus upon the theory. So when a charged particle such as a proton, okay, that spin on its own axis, it creates a magnetic field. Thus we can say that the nucleus can be considered as a tiny bar magnet. Okay, and normally we can say that these bar magnets are randomly oriented in a space. So what happens when, suppose we have applied a magnetic field, so they are oriented with or against this magnetic field. So see this again, the sample is placed, okay, this is your sample, and here the two magnets are placed. So you can say sample is placed with two magnets. So I think time is running, so see you in the next part. So these are the references I have used. To do watch the next part for the more clarification about the NMR. I welcome you all in the part 2 video of the nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, in which we have discussed about the carbon and the hydrogen NMR. So we are at this point that the sample is placed in this NMR tube, and alongside of sample we place two magnetic, okay, we can say magnetic pole. So please see again the magnetic properties of nuclei. Okay, spinning only occur in case of the odd mass numbers, whereas so it shows a magnetic movement, it shows a magnetic spinning, a magnetic field act as a magnet. Whereas in case of the atoms which are having even mass numbers like carbon 12 or oxygen 16, So it shows no magnetic field. But if here it is carbon 13 is written, then it will again show a magnetic moment, or you can say spinning, or act as a magnet. So what happened? So these small tiny bar magnets are randomly oriented in space. Okay, so suppose let's recall again. So when a charged particle such as a proton that we have already seen spins around its own axis, it will create a magnetic field. Yes, it will create a magnetic field. Okay, and normally these bar magnets are randomly oriented in the space. However, if in the presence of magnetic field B naught, if we apply a magnetic field, particularly B naught, they are oriented with or against this magnetic field. And in case of magnetic field B naught, there are now two energy state of a proton. Okay, it has a lower energy as well as the higher energy. So a lower energy state with the nucleus aligned in the same direction, whereas higher energy state in which the nucleus aligned opposite to B naught. I think this is clear. So suppose this is a nuclei. So when we put this nuclei in a large magnetic field, because the function of the NMR machine is to produce the different type of magnetic fields. So when we put this nuclei in the large magnetic field, which is marked by this green line, what happen? Two possibilities appears. It might go in this way in the alignment same as this magnetic field. So it is known as the alpha spin state, or it require very low energy because it is in the same position or the same alignment. But if we say this nuclei, it will move opposite to this magnetic field, then it will known as the beta spin state, and it will require high energy. So always remember this thing, if the same alignment, if this nuclei is moved the same alignment, then it will require low energy, or if it will move the opposite, then it will require the higher energy. So in NMR, we put the compound in a radio frequency radiation, and different nucleus, or you can say different nuclei, they absorb energy and they also flip. So just see this, the two variable characterize NMR. So an applied magnetic field, that is the B naught, and the strength, which is measured in Tesla, and the frequency of radiation used for resonance. This is important. So what happens? Suppose this is your nuclei. So what happens? This is a lower energy state. So it will go to the higher energy state again. Okay? After absorbing RF radiation, it causes the nucleus to spin, or you can say the flip. So it is the frequency needed for resonance, and the applied magnetic fields are measured. You can say these are represented proportionally related to a formula, that is the V is directly proportional to B naught. Okay, and V is the frequency, and we have already covered the B naught is the magnetic field that we have applied. So what happened? This is a sample tube in which we have added our sample which contain a particular NMR active components, and we have applied an external magnetic field. So what happened? The sample that contain the particular atoms, they will orient themselves with this magnetic field when they receive the particular radio frequency. So far we have covered this NMR. We have covered the N part, that is the nuclear, or it is related with the nucleus. We have already covered the magnetic part is also there, magnetic. Now the third important component is the resonance part. So let's see this. So resonance is nothing but when the frequency of the rotating magnetic field, okay, and the frequency of the precessing nucleus, they become equal, then we can say it is resonance. Don't confuse this resonance with the organic chemistry. This is much related to the physics part. Okay, so when the frequency of the rotating magnetic field and the frequency of a nucleus particularly, they become equal, then we can say that the compound, or can say it resonance is achieved. So let's understand again the main components of the NMR spectroscopy. Okay, then is the RF generator because we not need the radio frequency. Sample holder, this is the NMR tube. We need the magnets. North and south pole is predicted here. Then the detector amplifier again enhance the signal. Then detector recorder is there. So first step is to put the sample in this NMR tube and it should be taken in the solution form. Now in the next step, the radio frequency generator, it will generate the radio frequency, and due to this generation of the electromagnetic radiation, or you can say the RF, that is the radio frequency, the protons which are present in the sample, they are also tends to align in such a way, in, or you can say in the way of the this RF frequency. In third step, these magnets are present and they will generate the strong magnetic field. This magnetic field is basically controlled by the sweep generator with the help of this coil, that is the Helmholtz coil. And these coils can increase or decrease the magnetic field. You can say that this can control the magnetic field that is applied here. And if we increase the magnetic field, you can say that the resolution is better. And the direction of these magnetic fields are generally perpendicular to the radio frequency. Suppose in a condition when the strength of this magnetic field will increase the strength of this radio frequency, then we can say that the resonance is achieved. This proton will align in the direction of the magnetic field, and when this is achieved, the receiver coil will receive the signal of this resonance and it will send to the amplifier. Then simply it passes the signal to the detector and the recorder. So this is just an overview of the NMR spectroscopy. You don't have to go in the much deeper in this semester, but in the higher semester you must know all the functions of this NMR, all the concept and all the aspects. So this is an overview of the NMR spectroscopy. We have covered this point. We have used a special type of NMR tubes. A solid liquid sample should be taken. Okay, in the solution form, it should be taken in the NMR tube, and it should be withheld by the two magnetic that are these are controlled by the switch generator and the Helmholtz coil. We can produce the radio frequency from this point, and then amplifier and detector is used. Okay. So this is the NMR instrument that is widely used in the industry, in the research laboratories, in different type of. Okay, so this is the different type of NMR instruments. You know, this instrument is also very costly. So I hope this is you have a brief idea about the NMR now. So let's do the application in the next video. Thank you for your patience and listening. I welcome you all in the next part of the NMR spectroscopy. So in this video tutorial, we are going to see some of the important applications of the NMR. So as you can see, it have wide applications in different type of sciences like material science, chemical analysis. We have a drug screening and drug design, protein hydration, ionizing state, etc. So yes, some of the applications of NMR are listed below. It is first, it is used to determine the macromolecules in the aqueous solution under near physiological conditions. It determines the residual structures of unfolded proteins and the structure of the folded intermediates. It also determines the chemical properties of the functional groups in biomacromolecules. There is one important application of NMR, that is the MRI machine. So MRI machine, that is the magnetic resonance imaging, this machine is based upon the principle of NMR. Okay, so this is very important application of this NMR. So yes, it has a different applications in the petrochemical industries also, in the data acquisition in the petroleum industry for the petroleum natural gas exploration and recovery. So it is used in chemistry to determine the enantiomeric purity, elucidate the chemical structure of organic and inorganic compound. This is the most important one. So widely used in the pharmaceutical sciences to study pharmaceuticals and drug metabolism also. So yes, it has a application for quantitative analysis. We have covered the structural elucidation, degradation of impurities, detection of impurities in a particular sample, interaction of the impurities in the quality control. Yes, you can draw this also. Molecular imaging, metabolic profiling, molecular structure and dynamics, drug discovery, food And the agriculture industry is polymer sciences. Yes, of course, the chemical synthesis and interaction monitoring. So I hope this is clear now. NMR has a wide range of applications in different sciences. So these are the reference I have used to prepare this video or the previous video also. So I acknowledge all the sources I have used. So thank you for patience and listening, and do focus only upon the application because this is the main prime concern in our syllabus. See you in the next video.